Hyakkaou Private Academy is one of the most prestigious schools in Japan, which only rich people can enter. However, unlike most academies, this academy is fully run by the student council and has unreasonable rules where students are allowed to gamble after class ends. In addition, they also have a scary hierarchy determined by gambling. The best gamblers in school would enjoy popularity, money, and authority, while those who lost and couldn't pay their debts were branded as pets and servants to the student body. Therefore, many students are willing to do anything to become the best gamblers, and they even have to be willing to bring down other people's economies. Because of the regulations in the academy, students are also required to train their ability to manipulate opponents and the ability to make deals, as well as increase their IQ beyond the limits of madness. On the other hand, Yumeko Jabami is a mysterious second-year transfer student who comes to Hyakkaou Academy. She is then introduced to a student named Ryota Suzui, someone who now has the status of a pet after losing to a gamble from Mari Saotome, the best gambler in the class. Ryota was also asked to accompany Yumeko around the academy and explain some of the rules to her. Seeing Yumeko as a girl who is still innocent, Ryota warns Yumeko not to gamble so that she doesn't end up as a pet like himself. After hearing that, Yumeko strangely changed, her innocent face melted away as she laughed to herself. Yumeko's arrival actually made Mari interested and wanted to make Yumeko her slave. When class was over, Mari approached Yumeko and immediately challenged her to gamble with her. Of course, Yumeko happily accepted the challenge. Mari challenges Yumeko to a modified game of rock paper scissors, Jonkenpon. The players will get 3 cards written by students in the class and randomly inserted into the box. At the beginning of the game, Yumeko continued to lose many times until she suffered a loss of 1,200,000 yen. Mari, who feels that she always wins, underestimates Yumeko and thinks of her as a fool. Even though Yumeko loses, she asks for a final gamble for 10 million yen. After observing the game they had earlier, Yumeko realizes that Mari had manipulated her classmate's voice to allow her to determine Yumeko's cards. Even though she was in an unfavorable situation, Yumeko became even more enthusiastic about the game. With her analysis of the game, Yumeko manages to beat Mari and immediately makes fun of her. From that defeat, Mari finally owed Yumeko 8 million yen. Unable to pay for it, Mari also holds the status of a pet. After the game ends, Yumeko, who has considered Ryota a friend, gives him 5 million yen so he can be freed from the pet status. The next day, after her defeat, Mari became a bullying material for the students in class and was even treated like a slave and nicknamed Cat. Seeing that, Ryota also explained to Yumeko that the pet rule began to be implemented since the position of student council president was taken over by a female student named Kirari Momobami. Knowing Kirari's prowess in being able to win the student council chair in a short time made Yumeko even more excited. After successfully winning a gamble from Mari, now Yumeko is challenged by a student named Atsuki Sumeragi, the daughter of the CEO of Japan's top toy company and a first-year student council member who is famous for having never lost at a card game before. For this gamble, they're going to play a double card, in which the players have to open each card and remember the location of the card so they can match 2 of the same cards. The point of this gambling game is that they are competing with each other for the power of memory. In the gambling game, Itsuki made a bet of 20 million yen, but because Yumeko did not have that much money, Itsuki ended up lending Yumeko 20 million yen without interest. In the first round of the game, Yumeko was seen playing casually so that Itsuki, who used 2 decks of cards made by his father's company, won 20 million yen from Yumeko and made Yumeko indebted to her. Not quite satisfied with the gambling game that the two of them were doing, Yumeko asked for a rematch and they proceeded to round 2. Even though Yumeko doesn't have enough money, Itsuki decides to accept her request for a second round on the condition that Yumeko has to risk her fingernails if she loses the game. It is known that Itsuki has a very crazy strange hobby, namely collecting the nails of opponents she has defeated. In the second round, Yumeko confirmed that Itsuki had cheated, in which in the first round she analyzed the cards and realized that these cards had hidden signs that were hard to spot, so she started to think hard about how she could beat Itsuki. After winning because of the cheating she did, Itsuki deals from the same 2 decks, confident that her cheating style of using heat-activated patterns in the cards will help her win again. But immediately Itsuki panicked because Yumeko, using her intelligence, managed to win in just 1 turn to match all the cards. After Itsuki's defeat, Yumeko tries to challenge Itsuki again by staking their nails against each other. But because Itsuki felt scared seeing Yumeko's ferocity, she could only cry. It didn't stop there. Itsuki's bad luck increased after her defeat caused her to be kicked out as a member of the student council. The quite exciting gambling game against Itsuki has ended, and now Yumeko is invited to the Traditional Culture Research Society's clubroom. Right at that time, in the room, Mari was seen challenging a member of the student council and the head of the culture club named Yuriko. Mari did all that because based on the information she knew, there was a rule that students with pet status had the opportunity to relinquish that status if they managed to beat the student council members in a public gambling game. However, there is only one chance, and if Mari loses the game, she will have the status of a pet until she graduates from school. Mari, who hoped to win, instead had bad luck because ended up losing and also accumulate an additional 40 million yen to her debt. Because of that defeat, Mari had to swallow a bitter reality that almost made her go crazy. Since fighting Mari is not enough, Yuriko turned to challenge Yumeko, who at that time witnessed Mari's defeat for the second time. Receiving a challenge from Yuriko, Yumeko becomes even more excited and happily accepts. The game they will play is vital because there are 40 million yen on the line. The first game went smoothly with a draw and Yumeko managed to find out Yuriko's cunning and cheating way. Yumeko deduces that Yuriko has cheated by making the dealer use a magnet in her hand to affect the sword's movement. In the previous match, Yuriko seemed to have a way of making her opponent who had almost given up fall into despair by giving a light of hope to her weak opponent's soul. Yumeko, who also knows this, tries to provoke Yuriko by humiliating and belittling her. Yuriko, who had been playing calmly, was now carried away by emotions and made a bet of 40 million chips. While Yuriko divided her chips into 5 places, Yumeko also put all of her chips in one place. Yuriko panicked at the thought of the possibility that she would lose more than 2 billion yen, but just at that time the student council members, including Kirari, the student council president, stepped in to observe the game. The game ended and apparently, the result of the match was won by Yuriko. Yumeko finally lost and made her have a debt of 310 million yen, and also the humiliating status as a pet. The next day, Pet Yumeko and Mari receive life schedules from the student council, which determine their entire future, including what careers they will have, who they will marry, and even how many children they will have if they are unable to pay off their debts. Mari, who did not accept the life schedules, felt annoyed because her life had been arranged arbitrarily by the student council. Therefore, in order to get out of control of the student council, Mari will try hard to be able to pay off her debt before she graduates. Unexpectedly, the opportunity to pay off her debt came quickly. Due to the increase in pet students, the student council secretary Sayaka announces that she will be holding a debt settlement game for pet students. The game is called the Debt Exchange Game, in which groups of 4 students will play a game of 2-card Indian poker. Those who win in the game will have their debts eliminated and even have the chance to win money. Yumeko and Mari, who have the same status, end up in the same group as a naughty boy named Kiwatari and another pet student named Nanami Sabomi. Even though Kiwatari has no debts, he takes part in the game because he wants to get more money if he wins, despite the risk that if he loses he will become a pet as well. At the start of the game, Kiwatari managed to dominate and he even put Mari and Yumeko down. Feeling humiliated, Mari of course did not remain quiet and taunt Kiwatari to annoy him. After that incident, Kiwatari became restless because he was always being bullied by Mari. Meanwhile, Yumeko at that time knew that Kiwatari and Nanami were working together, and she tried to manipulate Nanami into betraying Kiwatari. Even though at the end of the game Kiwatari is confident that he will win, it turns out that Yumeko and Mari exchange debts to deceive opponents and hide their chip values. So, Mari is actually in the first place, the second is Nanami, the third is Yumeko and the fourth is Kiwatari. In the end, Kiwatari officially became a pet with a total debt of 310 million. Meanwhile, Nanami's debt is still 20 million, but her confidence begins to rise and Mari and Yumeko get 260 million thanks to the victory in the game. After everything that happened to the two of them, their relationship became closer and they became friends. Even though Yumeko is still a pet, it turns out that Yumeko's goal is to use her pet status to challenge the student council president in a public match later. This finally made the student council curious about Yumeko's figure and tried to investigate her background. Yumeko's background was discovered by the student council. It was revealed that Yumeko had a lot of wealth and only had an older sister as a family member. When Yumeko hasn't had the chance to have a gambling match with the student council president, suddenly she and Ryota are kidnapped by a crazy student council member named Midari Ikashima. Midari wants to challenge Yumeko to a game of charades. The winner in each round can point either of the 2 revolvers at the loser and pull the trigger, without knowing which of the 6 chambers in the gun contains a bullet. Despite the possibility of losing her life, Yumeko agrees to the challenge with the condition that the game only lasts 3 rounds and Ryota must become the dealer. In addition, the loser must pay 1 billion yen. Midari added that if the winner misses her shot on purpose, the loser can fire a shot in return. In the first round, Midari managed to win and immediately pointed the revolver at Yumeko. Midari doesn't hesitate to shoot, but the gun is Yumeko's and it is unloaded. Midari revealed that gambling with money made her feel no pleasure whatsoever. She gouged out her own left eye as payment for her loss to the council president and realized that she only likes to gamble when the risk is pain or death. In the second round, Yumeko won and she was looking for a lighter gun because the lighter gun didn't have bullets. This was done by Yumeko instead because she didn't want Midari to die ridiculously there. Then in the final round, the game ended in a draw, in line with Yumeko's expectations from the start of the game. Yumeko, who still has a human side, tries to explain that Midari's actions are ridiculous. Midari is not gambling but only wants to die. After hearing Yumeko's words, Midari burst into tears. After that game, Midari changed into a better person. Meanwhile, the student council president, Kirari, met Mari and asked her to join the student council because she had managed to make the student council lose hundreds of millions before. Even though she was forced by the student council president to join, Mari refused because she didn't like Kirari, who often looked down on other students, and she vowed to take revenge on Kirari. After that meeting, Kirari said goodbye to her members and leave the academy because there was business outside. Kirari's departure makes the members nervous and unsure of how they should face Yumeko. The other student council members let second years Kaide Manyuda and Yumemite take control of the situation and increase their authority. On the other hand, Itsuki is in danger of being disowned by her father after her defeat by Yumeko. She then meets Mari, Ryota, and Yumeko, who are together, and offers to be loyal to Yumeko if she can beat Kirari, become the president, and return her place on the council. Then a challenge letter from Yumemi arrived. As head of PR and a YouTube Japanese idol, Yumemi stakes 50 million yen on the results of an idol championship competition. Yumemi explains that if Yumeko loses, she wanted to turn Yumeko into an idol like her. Yumeko accepted this and at the same time prepared the recording. It turns out that Yumemi has a secret, namely that she really hates her fans and even feels disgusted when shaking hands with them. Yumeko, who had prepared a recording, recorded all the conversations so that Yumemi could bet everything and the game would get hotter. As the game is going to start, Yumeko can be seen dressing up like an idol and going on stage with Yumemi. They continue to show their charms as idols to win the hearts of the audience. After going through various games and their points are still balanced, Yumeko began to get serious and started to show her madness, in which they were asked to guess Mari's birthday. Of course, Yumemi didn't know about it and was prepared that if she lost this round then the previous recording would be played there. Yumeko tricks Yumemi into writing 9 on her card when she writes 6, initially scaring her, but when Mari's birthday is revealed in March, Yumeko wins the game with her guess being 3 months closer. In the end, Yumeko manages to beat her, but when the tape is about to be played, Yumemi's colleague tries to negotiate with her to get rid of the tape. However, Yumemi decided to play the tape among her fans and test her luck as an idol. When Yumemi was prepared that her dream as an idol would be destroyed, she was very surprised because it turned out that her fans there were true fans. Then, in the end, to enliven the event, they both did a duo. After everything was over, Yumeko explained that there was someone who wanted to sabotage Yumemi's career. Yumemi openly accuses Kaide of being the culprit, who pretends to cooperate, even though she really wants to bring Yumemi down. However, they can't prove Kaide's actions, so Yumeko suggests that they gamble and decide who is lying. Next, Kaide had no choice but to accept Yumeko's public match. In that match, the one who will be the referee will be the masked vice president of the student council named Ririka. Ririka suggests playing poker with no limited stakes. Kaide is a subsidiary of the National Financial Agency, certainly has an abundance of money. Even in that game, the biggest bet holder is free to choose a strong card or a weak card as the winner. It is certain that Kaide is very favored in this game. Without further ado, she prepared 100 chips worth 1 million, while Yumeko prepared 31 chips. When the game started, it seemed that Kaide was thinking her best to predict Yumeko's actions. Even though in the first round Yumeko won with a total of 41 chips, Kaide managed to turn things around and made Yumeko lose all of her chips. However, the game is still not over because Yumeko asks Itsuki for money so she can place a bet for her and can continue playing with Kaide. Itsuki also entrusted all of her chips to Yumeko. Of course, Itsuki's role this time is to allow Yumeko to play to her heart's content. However, Kaide certainly did not remain silent and continued to raise the stakes to Itsuki's financial limit. Because she was cornered and felt sure she would win with Yumeko's card, Itsuki risked her whole life in the game where her life was worth 10 million. Seeing the madness that Itsuki was doing, made Yumeko excited to beat Kaide. But Kaide is against this life bet and thinks that this bet is very unreasonable and does not meet the rules of the game. Then suddenly Ririka took off her mask and showed the face of Kirari, the student council president who was disguised. With the appearance of Kirari, she as the student council president absolutely accepted the life bet and made a bet on Itsuki's life that's worth 10 million, so the total bet reached 12 million. Therefore, Kaide confidently risks her life, which is worth 10 million plus her 3 million assets, and the total bet becomes 13 million. With this, the right to choose the card is in Kaide's hands. Seeing Kaide's action made Itsuki look like she was crying sadly, but behind her sad face, she was laughing at Kaide's decision. However, Yumeko reveals Itsuki's desperation was a plot to deceive Kaide into choosing strong and reveals she has 3 jacks, beating Kaide's 3 eights. Because of this, Kaide finally lost badly, and she fainted and her hair turned white. As a result of that defeat, Kaide ended up with billions in debt and lost her council seat. Furthermore, after seeing Yumeko's victory, the student council president became interested in Yumeko and asked her to gamble together. The next day, they also prepared a place for the game where the bet is if you lose the game, the loser will be kicked directly from the academy. Council member Runa Yomizuki will be the referee in that game. Kirari chose the tarot cards of Fate game. Because it only takes 3 rounds to finish the game, Ryota will open the last card to determine the fate of the winner. At the beginning of the game, Yumeko takes a card and gets 1 point, while in Kirari's turn, she takes a card and it's 21 points away from Yumeko, which means Yumeko has to score 20 points or Ryota has to find the Fool card facing Yumeko. Mari and Itsuki watched the game from above and knew where the Fool card was because previously the student council president had marked it in the same blue color as her fingernails. Knowing this, Ryota wanted to take it but didn't because he felt like it was a trap from Kirari. Thus, Ryota chose a card at random, the risk factor arousing Yumeko intensely. The card chosen is worth 20 points, so Yumeko equals Kirari's score. The game ends with Runa declaring the match a draw, but Kirari and Yumeko agree to gamble again in the future. After that, Kirari decided to disband the student council and Yumeko continued to be a compulsive gambler.